Hello, everybody. I am NoLucksGiven here with IxidorsDreams,
Howdy.
and we are going to do a versus matchup of sorts. We're going to be playing some modern Magic the Gathering here. We're going to talk about both of our decks for a little bit before we start it off. Both of them are pretty well established decks in modern at this point. I'm going to be playing Abzan Vizier Collected Company with the Devoted Druid and Vizier of Remedies combo. And my buddy Ixidors is going to be playing Classic Jund. Jundum.
Yeah, classic go-to The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, Jund.
So I mean, you can find out more about either of our lists and like why we've made the individual choices for our deck lists maybe outside of this video. I stream with this deck a lot, and there's been thousands of words written on Jund, but I guess what we really want to talk about here in the deck tech portion is like matchups specifically, what's going to be important, and you'll see that as it plays out in the games as well. The one thing that I think is kind of interesting to note is for a while I've been playing a Vizier Collected Company list that runs two Path to Exile's main deck, and that's going to be pretty important in this matchup because I think the most important card in the entire matchup is going to be the Scavenging Oozes. The Scavenging
Yeah.
Ooze from the Jund side of the table is one of the biggest reasons to play Jund, I think.
Yeah, and honestly, Scavenging Ooze has found itself at a very good point in the meta now that Jund's kind of resurrected itself. Not only is it able to get the value creatures out of the Vizier decks, like Eternal Witness, in some cases Renegade Rallier and other versions, but it's also matching up really well against all the Grixis Shadow decks that are trying to make the best use of their graveyard, use Snapcasters to get value off their Stubborn Denials and such like that. So Scavenging Ooze finding its way back into the meta game, and partially a reason why Jund is probably a viable choice again.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I'm also playing a Scavenging Ooze, and I also think Scavenging Ooze is one of the most important cards in the matchup from my side of the table. Sometimes you're going to get into a position where both players have Scavenging Ooze for a while. My Scavenging Ooze is going to stop his cards like Tarmogoyf and Culligan's Command being the two biggest ones. But also just my Scavenging Ooze can help stop his Scavenging Ooze from growing as well.
Yeah. It's interesting also, too, that I only noted just the other day for the first time that when you have infinite mana and there are a lot of creatures in the graveyard, Scavenging Ooze is actually quite the good mana dump for the Vizier Devoted Druid combo. Just make, 7 or 8, infinite arbitrary green mana and then dump 8 life gain and counters onto the Ooze, and suddenly your opponent's going, well, that's not the worst mana sink I've ever seen.
Yeah, I don't know. Let me double check this. I think. Do you have my deck list up right now, currently, Dreams?
That's accurate. I do, Lux.
Okay. I just realized that the deck list is cut off. The main deck isn't showing that there are. So if you want to pull up do you have it in
Court of
client?
Callings and the Walking Ballistas?
Yeah, the Court of Callings and the Walking Ballistas are
Yeah,
off
already
screen.
took care of it on my end. I got it all reshaped though over here.
Cool. Yeah, I just realized that.
No worries.
So, yeah, my list is like pretty stock-ish. I'm playing one Viscera Seer because I still do kind of like the Black Splash. I find that the Black Splash is mostly important for the sideboard when you get to bring in Orzhov Pontiff, which is just like a back-breaking card in certain matchups, but also the Abrupt Decay. You board that in almost all of the time just to deal with like Grafdigger's Cage, which we're going to see in our sideboarded games as well here. But the Black Splash, I do think, is still somewhat important in the deck. You've seen a lot of builds that eschew that just in favor of straight-up green-white. But I'm not too heavy on the Black Splash with only one Viscera Seer main deck. Still love Kitchen Finks. That's pretty much all I wanted to say about my deck.
Well, I think it's really interesting, just before we move on to the Jund side of things, that you point out that the black sideboard plan is really where you're at, because most decks, if you're on green X, and you're thinking about going white for these sideboard hate cards like Stony Silence and Rest in Peace and Path to Exile, but your main core white in the deck is already so strong that you're almost like, oh, you know what could be best after I've gone white in this deck?
Right,
Well,
right.
the best answer is obviously black. So I haven't always been a big proponent since this deck came out of keeping the black splash, but after seeing you play with it several times on stream, and hearing your arguments regarding the black sideboard and the familiarity with the matchups there, makes me inclined to believe that maybe I had written this off just a hair too early, and that things like Sin Collector and Orzhov Pontiff are really going to put you over the top in the matchups where you want them.
Yeah, they let you to still function. Like, we're going to see here, we won't, I mean, we'll talk a little bit about the sideboarding now, but, like, I think my sideboard plan is to, like, cut these cards, like Vizier of Remedy and Devoted Druid, and I kind of just turn into a green-black rock deck at that point. It's still a little bit more like a green beat-down creatures deck, but once you bring in Abrupt Decay and, like, your main game plan is just to Eternal Witness your Abrupt Decays, that kind of starts to feel like a rock deck more than just a little kid beatdown deck.
Yeah, and Eternal Witness and Kitchen Finks, Abrupt Decay, those are the type of cards that always have that type of feel. So exactly, when you shave down on the other elements, you're just playing a rocky game plan. On the other side of the table, speaking of rocky game plans, we're going to be going with exactly that against the CoCo Vizier deck. This here is Jund.
I want to apologize, too, for the bad Magic Online client making us have these awkward like caution tape symbols
caution
around
strips.
Yeah, so
exactly.
I'm gonna
caution warning, dead magic bodies on the floor. But speaking of bodies on the floor, that's really could be the name of the Jund deck. It could just be bodies on the floor because it's all it's really trying to do. It's got the fatal pushes, you have the lightning bolts, terminates, abrupt decays, basically the rocky cards that are trying to put your opponent's bodies on the floor while you're disrupting with the likes of Thoughtseize and Inquisition. Obviously, a huge part of this meta game right now that many decks are on the mono discard package, including Shadow. And Liliana of the Veil getting to play the role of take down your opponent's card quantity until they have nothing left and your board position is much better. Having win conditions like Tarmogoyf or Scavenging Ooze ahead of the Liliana, or perhaps having a Dark Confidant to provide the card advantage to get ahead of your opponent in terms of card quantity. Mostly, this is just Reed Duke's recent list. If you're not familiar, you can check it out over, I'm sure he's still writing on it. I think it's CFB, right, Lux?
Yeah, China Fireball.
Yeah, so you can check the exact list out over there. I think the one thing we're different from his list is I want to try this Blazing Volley here in the sideboard out. I talked to Lux a little bit about it prior to our little recording here, but I think that this is like an unheralded secret gem of Amonkhet, this basic common that says for one white...
Seems pretty sweet.
Yeah, one red mana, dealing with Lingering Souls, which is definitely one of the banes of Jund in general.
This card seems pretty good in a lot of matchups. Like, it's going to be good here. It's also good against Affinity, Infect, which isn't really a deck anymore, but...
yeah, but like even like the resurgence recently because of Vizier and the Elvish decks.
For sure,
I mean, we're going to take out that Elvish Archdruid with a Terminate, end of turn, untap, Blazing Volley, and then possibly cast Liliana or Tarmogoyf. That seems pretty much like a blowout.
The fact that it can also just trade 1-for-1 with a Birds of Paradise, like if you want to on turn 1, also seems pretty solid to me.
Exactly, and in a meta full of birds and noble hierarchs, Blazing Volley certainly seems like it has a place. So we did trim the Grim Lavamancer that was supposed to be on the board over here for this Blazing Volley copy. I'm really interested in seeing in action. But otherwise, it's pretty much a stock Jund list. The only differences that I noted that Duke was on was favoring Inquisition over Thoughtseize. He's probably just trying to be cognizant of his life total and trying to make sure he doesn't deal as much damage to himself. Thoughtseize might be the better card right now. Just being able to get things like Tasigur and Reality Smasher seems valuable. But I mean, if your deck is on the ability to kill these creatures pretty much left and right, then I suppose there's no need to discard them from your opponent's hand.
Yeah, Eldrazi and Tasigur and Delve creatures can be a little bit of a problem, but you do have Terminate, Maelstrom Pulse, Liliana, and
yeah, so you just like, I suppose playing a 5/6 2-drop is also a pretty good plan against those creatures.
Yeah, Termaglyph's pretty nasty. There's a lot of other, like, I mean, the main card in the sideboard is going to be the Grafdigger's Cage, which I already mentioned. That shuts off my Court of Callings and my Collected Companies. And my Kitchen Finks. It's the best possible card against my deck. But
Yeah, in general, it's very, very good.
yeah.
I think the other one that's really good here that a lot less people talk about, I think people are starting to catch on more now recently, but than they had perhaps a few weeks ago. But Collective Brutality is a fairly big beating.
Collective Brutality, sure, yeah.
Against your deck, specifically because you're able to take out one of those mana creatures, or for instance, a Devoted Druid or a Vizier portion of the combo, and take the Chord of Calling or the Collected Company from your opponent's hand, ensure that further antics don't occur. So I think that that's something. Leyline of the Void is present as a 2-of in this sideboard, but I'll tell you why I don't think we bring it in this matchup. I think that it's just not fast enough. Like, if it's not in your starting hand, it's certainly not where you want to be, and it's really only dealing with your Infinite Mana combo, which is slightly fringe, and your Eternal Witnesses, and I don't know that there's enough game behind that. So I'm quite sure the game plan is to bring in just the Grafdigger's Cages and leave the Ley Lines at home. What are your thoughts on that, Lux?
It does stop the best cards in my deck post-board, so I could see an argument for doing it. It's a tricky one.
Especially at 2-of, right? You know, because
Yeah,
we're not
I'm
talking
not-
like 3 or 4. It's going to be tough to open on that.
I'm not in general like the hugest fan of ley lines, but I do think, I mean, like the way that I am going to try to beat you is through my 3-drops. It's through Eternal Witness and Kitchen Finks, and it stops both of those cards from doing what they need to do. So I could actually see a place for it. But we'll figure that out, I think, once we get into the sideboard. What we're going to do now is we're going to play 2 unsideboarded games, and then we are going to play 3 sideboarded games here. So that is the plan.
Accurate.
And
make sure my camera's set up appropriately. Apologies, everybody watching. Make sure I'm in the right spot. All right,
let's jump into it. And then we'll also just finagle the die rolls so that those are doing what we want them to do.
Oh, yeah, because you can choose to play first or not, right?
Yeah, so I won the die roll. We'll say that I actually won, and then...
Of course. You won the die roll, so you get to choose. Play or draw.
All right, well, I don't love this hand. This hand's decent because it's got this and this in it. But this is, like, pretty terrible against Jund. These are great. This is kind of bad. This isn't really going to do anything early game. So this kills Dark Confidant. This kills Scavenging Ooze. But generally, Jund's game plan isn't going to be to run out their creatures on turn 2. It's generally going to be to hang on to their threats for as long as possible while clearing the way with removal and discard spells. We are on the play, though.
That is pretty accurate. I would say that my goal is not to rush out a turn 2 Bob as it is to deal with whatever you've rushed out on turn 2.
I'm going to keep.
Oh, all right, fair enough. This hand is, unfortunately, 1 colored mana from being the absolute nut. If this land were perhaps of the other dual variety, then we would be fine. Either of the other dual varieties, in fact. But as it stands, this is the wrong dual-colored land to have for this to open up. So we're going to have to take a mulligan here. That's okay. This is...
I'm really regretting my choice. I'm just, like, with the 7 1-mana cost kill spells that Jund has access to.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a lot of those. This hand's better because it has all the land we need. I don't think we're going to mulligan down to 5 to do anything about it. So we'll go ahead and keep this and bottom that immediately.
Alright, I'm going to crack this and just get a land here.
I bet you are. I mean, what kind of land comes out of that? Is that a forest or a swamp? It looks like...
It's going to be a temple garden.
A fucking plains? The hell? That's broken.
Oh, I got to take this chat off my screen, too.
Yeah, I screamed down a little bit, so we're not in such a rough spot with that right now. All right, well, it looks like this is going to be the play, so this is going to be the play.
Sweet. All right, we got there, and can we continue to get there?
Yeah, it's got to feel pretty good when the Jund deck plays the turn 1 tap land with all those bolts and pushes.
Yeah. We do.
Got to feel pretty good. Man, can I draw the sideboard Blazing Volley in our pre-boarded games? Can I do it? Can he do it?
That would be pretty sick.
All right. Well, I just feel like mana denial is where we're going to need to be at right now. So we're going to go ahead and slam it. Let's
Abrupt
take the
decay.
black just in case.
Cool. Yeah, now we're pretty much out ahead of like a Liliana potentially. We still definitely need to draw more lands, and he might even like Colligan's command us or something here to just continue to keep us off mana. We have an answer
The
to a
recruiter's
Liliana.
in town. I never
because we're
did
on the
talk to
play.
a recruiter in my life. Well, like you're right, but at the same time, you got to make a choice. Do you want mana or do you want a recruiter? Because I'm the one making you choose. I'm not choosing.
Yeah, here I definitely want to value my mana here. We can kill Liliana anyways with Noble Hierarch because he left us Noble Hierarch and not Birds of Paradise.
Agreed.
So I'm gonna get rid of my recruiter.
Agree
it's
with
not
that
gonna
line.
do too much for us here, but
I think that's correct. You have to value the mana. If you don't draw a land, you're screwed. So you need that noble more than anything.
we can almost actually just continue to develop our mana here. I think it might be better than I drew a Devoted Druid, and I think I'd rather develop that. Like, he might have another Lily and play that and make us discard a card, or I'm sorry, make us sacrifice a creature. But in that case, we still get to get out from underneath of this with the Kitchen Finks, and one more Liliana uptick. It's going to put us in an awkward position because it means that we can't kill Liliana next turn either, because it'll be out of Noble Hierarch range. But I think drawing a Devoted Druid there means that we do want to just try to develop our mana a little bit more. This card has so much mana. Alright. We did also like have access to this, so that would have been a bad play. I think I'm going to hang on to this and discard one of these because I have two.
I'm going to discard what is obviously the best discard in my hand.
So I don't know if he has another Liliana or what's the deal. No, he's just flooded, right? Forgot. Alright, Thoughtseize.
Pretty good hand there, Lux.
Yeah,
we'll say. Not working with bad cards, just working with light mana.
Yeah. The Walking Ballista to kill Dark Confidant plus Path to Exile to kill Scavenging Ooze was what made me keep.
I was wondering what you meant was going to kill Confidant, and I thought about it. I was like, maybe he drew the Ballista.
Yeah.
So I could take the CoCo here because it represents a 2-for-1 later, but the question is, can we let him get to that mana? The answer is hopefully not. Kitchen Finks is a bit problematic, especially now that he's representing the mana. Path could get himself a land at this rate, so that's also a reasonable decision. I think the Walking Ballista is the card to ignore on this board, or in this hand, because it doesn't do much without the combo itself. So I'm pretty much narrowed down to CoCo and Kitchen Finks, but
I agree with that. Because you can tick up Liliana and kind of blank the removal spells that are in my hand too. Like you can just not
yeah, we take Finks here because my plan has to be to make sure that you don't ever arrive to collect the company mana, or that I can pick it off again at some point reasonably down the line. So we're gonna go ahead and pick off another creature.
Another Lily here.
Yeah, you kind of called it out.
Yeah. All right. So he has multiple Lilies.
Make sure you don't have the mana for that CoCo.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to keep Devoted Druid here. It means we win the game if we draw a Vizier of Remedies, and it means that if we draw a land, can potentially CoCo into Vizier and win the game that way. All right, so we hit a land. We're going to tap Devoted Druid for 2 mana, cast a Vizier of Remedies off of our collected company, and win the game. How does that sound?
We're just going to figure cross.
All right, not quite.
That's exactly what we wanted to see. It's not a Vizier.
All right, Liliana's at 2 now. Our opponent's going to be Hellbent. We're probably going to bin our Path to Exile here on this discard. Unless he goes land creature, then I guess we'll keep the Path to Exile. Now I'm trying to play head games.
Now it's very interesting because I don't think I can wait a bunch more turns, but I don't think I can sit back either. Oh, that's so... The CoCo, that land was actually pretty on time.
Though if it wasn't a land and it was a Vizier, that also would have been pretty good. So I had a decent
That's what I was thinking. I was like, the land was a deserved live draw. So that being said, how do I manage to do this? I think I just kind of leave it. And I see what you do.
Dark Confidant and no uptick with Liliana is going to be his play?
Yeah, it's trust me when I say the loyalty is not worth the card.
Yeah. I mean, I have to imagine that at this point. I assume, the loyalty isn't worth the card, so I guess he's got, well, couldn't it be Culligan's Command? It has to be something large that he didn't want to get Path to Exiled, and he wanted to keep on his Dark Confidant. So it's got to be like Chandra that he can't cast here, I would think. We can dump and pump a Walking Ballista. Could also just be another Liliana, potentially. That would be awkward. He'd have 5 mana worth of cards that he'd want to cast. Can't really do that much with Duskwatch Recruiter here. What we can do is activate Walking Ballista, ping off Dark Confidant, and then kill Iana, and continue from there. So let's go ahead and just get Overgrown.
I love how you say kill Liliana, because you just kind of shortcut it into kill Iana.
Yeah, that's
and it's what you do with Thought Nazi here, too. It's my favorite time. Every time you see a Thought Nazi, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Do you even know about that one where you do the Thought Nazi?
Oh, of course. Yeah. I'm cognizant of the words that are coming out of my own mouth.
All right, Chris Tucker.
let's do Ballista Pop Confidant here.
Oh, he wasn't really my confidant. He really didn't help out that much.
And we're gonna send this one at Dreams and this one at Liliana. If he uses a kill spell on the Viscera Seer at this point, that would definitely not be what I'm expecting, but we could also just Ballista the Liliana still, so we're kind of okay.
Ballistiana.
If he has another Liliana here, I think he's got Chandra or another 4-drop. Alright, there's an ink for my path. Clear the way for the Olivia or whatever lies await for us. Scavenging is with a green floating? No.
Really bad at tapping mana.
Another
really?
Liliana.
No, don't.
So we're gonna sack Viscera Seer to this, and then not gonna sack Viscera Seer to itself. We're gonna sack Viscera Seer to Liliana.
That'd been so legendary if you did that. Why couldn't you have done that on this VOD?
We're a mana short of. Well, I can pump Walking Ballista rather than play this. That doesn't actually get us.
I think what you need to do is Walking Ballista the Devoted Druid while it has 1 toughness. That way it won't survive.
That would be decent. All right, let's send this one at his face and this one at Liliana. Seems good. And
I know you're trying to recruit me, but I'm really not into it.
Now we're in a decent spot. There wasn't anything that I could have drawn off that Recruiter either, but we are keeping open Recruiter mana for his end of turn.
Flood has been real this game.
Yeah, you got pretty flooded. Looks like we are going to take this one. Mana Screw beats Mana Flood.
It does feel that way. Yeah, we kept the Tree Lander.
Vizier, and then
no, it was 4. We kept 4.
So now, and we'll do our combo the first time here just to demonstrate it for everybody. But basically, for those of you guys that aren't yet aware of the combo,
no.
I can play Vizier of Remedies. Now I can untap Devoted Druid. I guess we didn't talk about this combo at all in the deck tech. I'm just kind of assuming people know about it.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. Let's talk a little bit about it. You get peanut butter, and then you find another piece of bread. You find jelly, and then
the peanut butter and what's the jelly?
I mean, basically at that point, everybody's just arguing about what their flavor of jelly is, right? Like some people say, "Oh, I need maggots of the apricot," or other people are like, "Night of the raspberry jam." But what it comes down to is you get your peanut butter and you get your jelly, and then your opponent is just pretty salty.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to think of an analogy where either the peanut butter or the jelly. I guess jelly can be swapped out for different types of jelly. That's what you're getting at.
Yeah, because essentially, yeah, exactly. That's exactly. analogy's poor because in this case, Vizier represents the jelly, but also so does every other win con that you run, from Walking Ballista to Ronos to Night of the Reliquary and Hessig Wolf Run.
So here's the line that I'm taking. Devoted Druid is peanut butter. Devoted Druid is like the glue that just like makes a lot of things good. He's glue. Vizier is the bread.
All right, wait. Now you just compared glue to peanut butter. Now I've got a problem with my digestive system.
Vizier's the bread. Because if you want, you could have a Kitchen Finks Viscera Sear sandwich if you wanted to instead.
That's true. That's true, and it probably tastes better than the one with the glue in it.
Yeah. And then, right, your jelly is going to be your Duskwatch Recruiters or your Walking Ballistas or your Ronaces. And
yeah, no, that's pretty much accurate. I feel like my analogy was so close to being perfect that it was meant to fail.
Yeah, well, I tried to get you to eat a glue sandwich, so
sadly enough, I probably am tasting one right now via this Aether Revolt Rare.
This is definitely a glue sandwich if you want to just taste it here. So, yeah, basically, I'm able to make infinite mana because it doesn't cost my Devoted Druid a -1/-1 counter to untap. So I get to generate a bunch of mana. Generally, you will sink that mana into a Duskwatch Recruiter. Look at the top 3 cards of your library, find a creature card among them, and then use that mana also to pump an infinitely large Walking Ballista. Here we already have Walking Ballista on the board. I'm just doing it super slow because we're just talking and having fun here. And this will
absolutely. No worries. I totally get it. We're doing this for the first time, and for all of you people that haven't experienced this yet, count your blessings, and just know that they will not last long, because this is a deck that is here to stay. Whether it's the version that Lux is playing with Viscera Seer Black Splash, or it's the Magus of the Moon ninth place GP list, the Night of the Reliquaries, or if you're going straight green-white and playing Ronos and you just hate artifact creatures, this list is coming to a town and a game store near you. Get ready at your brick and mortar, people.
Cool. I could also,
yeah. Oh, you're gabbing for fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, okay. if I wanted to here, like just to like the full aspect of the combo, don't even need Walking Ballista. If that was exiled here, what I would do is I'd cast this Eternal Witness, return this Duskwatch Recruiter to my hand, draw my whole deck, put some Kitchen Finks onto the battlefield, Eternal Witness back a Viscera Seer. Actually, I don't have black mana. Never mind. He took us off of black mana. How did I play this Viscera Seer? Did I just play it turn 2?
You CoCo'd into it.
I CoCo'd into it. That's right. Okay. So let's finish off this game here, and that is game 1. Thank you guys very much for watching.
Thanks so much, everybody.
And I'm also just going to...
It was pleasant getting pinged to death.
Mm-hmm.
See, now this is all right. Don't worry, Lux.
This
We're
is
gonna remember.
You can
this is on. This is recorded.
So
this is on the permanent internet record.
So to be fair, like I really thought I lost this game the second I clicked keep. So this is all. I'm just on cloud 9 right now because I definitely thought that I'd lost this one.
I want to be so real with you. All it would have taken is like one of the land draws to be something silly like Lightning Bolt. I mean, in the early turns, and they would have been fine.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. If you just took me off of Birds of Paradise and then played a Liliana the Veil, I was dead. But
come on,
Devoted Druid is pretty
God.
Good. All right, we're done.
This Druid is super devoted, guys.
I love him. All right, that's game 1. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll be back with the next one in a second.
See you guys in a minute for game 2. Stay tuned.
Come on, give me it. Give me it. Where's it at? There we go. Okay.